if you don't care, why don't you care? And why don't you see this as an opportunity?
Like, what?
It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. But if you're looking for a little giggle, go and look at the Rugby Championship Instagram account because it's funny. It's funny.
Your series that's done really well lately is talking about rugby Instagram, and this massively struck a chord with me because I rage about, particularly in Wales, the absolute inept marketing that exists around rugby in Wales. And this is something that I've now seen reflected in the stuff that you were talking about the Rugby Championship. So just give people an intro into what triggered you here.
I had been looking at the Rugby Championship Instagram account for like a couple of months prior to the tournament starting, actually during under 20s, because they actually did quite a good job of the under 20s. There was shareable reels, like highlights reels, video content, but they were posting semi-regularly, which was kind of good. But I just was keeping my eye on the Rugby Championship because I was like, the competition's starting soon. Like, when are we going to start getting some hype from the account that is the competition? Thinking about, you know, with an eye to, say, the Six Nations, which is posting all the time. And it sort of got to the week before the games starting, and the only thing that had been posted was stories where they'd just post a picture that like clearly was from like Google Images. It would be like the coach, and it would say TRC News with a link, Springbok squad announcement, and then a link to a website to read the Springbok squad announcement. And it was all like not formatted. It wasn't designed in any way. It was just a photo and then like Instagram text, like how a regular person would post on Instagram. And I was baffled by it. There were no posts in the feed, and I couldn't understand how the competition is not building any hype for this tournament. And I understand that as a competition rather than as the team itself on social media, like their access to players and all that sort of thing is a lot different. And I also recognize that SANZAAR is a very small organization in terms of the actual people who work there directly for SANZAAR, and that potentially it's just
Isn't it like one office in Australia or something?
Something like that. I think there's like 4 or 5 staff members. So, you know, potentially, or what's likely is that the role of maintaining that social media has been given to someone who has another job and they don't have the time nor resources to maintain it properly. So I'm like empathetic to that, but it's also not good enough in 2024. And again, especially when you compare it to our counterparts in the Northern Hemisphere, but also many other competitions, also compared to Super Rugby. And I think that was what made me most not upset, but one, we deserve so much better for a competition that includes 2 biggest brands in World Rugby history, and also like is 3 of the most successful teams in World Rugby history. And so, yeah, they just don't really post. They clearly are recycling graphics. There's no use of hashtags.
Oh, yeah, there was the one where they copied and pasted the one from last week or something, the score from last week.
Yeah, they posted last year's points table.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, they don't post. I saw they posted the full-time score for the South Africa All Blacks game. It was sort of like 8 hours late. So they're also not building trust in their brand, because then if I was wanting to go and get a score after the game, if I hadn't watched it, I'd be going to other content creators who are making full-time score graphics rather than going to the actual account, which is just wild. And yeah, they don't have any shareable content, so nothing in terms of highlights, reels. I imagine that like video, I imagine that's something to do with broadcasting being difficult, the broadcasting rights and stuff, but at this point, you need to be coming up with creative solutions to figure that out, because it's just not good enough. It doesn't really fly. And there's no sort of, shareable stats. So like, I feel like you are doing more work for creating content around sharing stats in the Rugby Championship than the actual account is. You know, they just post full-time scores. Sometimes they post the standings if we're lucky. And they post lineups and potentially head-to-head from the last last match between those teams. So, there's nothing like, oh, here are our top 5 try scorers in the competition this year, or like our highest tackle counts in the competition, or a standout player, and here are their stats, you know. And that I'm a random lady with with a media studies degree. It's not even like comms or anything like that, you know, and I can think of these things. Like, imagine what you could do if you put some care and effort into it. And I know of so many amazing social media managers who work for the Super Rugby teams who are off contract, well, not off contract, you know, in off season at the moment, Like, you could pay them to do the duration of the tournament. That's not going to be that much of a cost across all 4 unions. But yeah, so I'm baffled. I want so much better. And so, yeah, I started posting about it, and people have taken up the mantle, and all of their comments are just people being like, what is happening with this account?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you draw the comparison of TRC is on, what, 20,000, you've probably contributed to their growth, to be honest. And the Six Nations is on 1 million. It's like, that's a difference. But the TRC, like, even the profile pic, you can't tell what it is from the profile pic.
No. And like, we were talking about it earlier, right? Like, the actual logo isn't even fit for social media, right? It's landscape. It doesn't like fit on anything.
Landscape logos.
Yeah. And again, social media is the cheaper side of the marketing thing, right? Like, it's kind of free promo.
You need some idiot with one of these is all you need, and then you can do it.
Exactly.
For audio listeners, I'm holding up a phone.
Exactly. Whereas, paying for billboards and radio ads and TV placements, like, that's the stuff.
Oh my God, you're going to trigger me because the Scarlet's idea of marketing is zip tying a poster to a lamppost.
Oh.
In town centre.
There's a little bit of like organic word of mouth cutesy about that, maybe.
Not when the population of the town is 35,000.
Oh.
God, the things I could tell you about Welsh Rugby. Like, I could tell you that one of the regions did not post a single video content to either TikTok or YouTube for the first 3 months of 2024. I could tell you that one of the regions had a derby, the Boxing Day derby, which is the biggest game of the year. And it got to the point where fans were tweeting the club, are you going to promote this game? Because you haven't tweeted about it in 2 weeks. I know that one of the regions, if you go on their website, the marketing manager and the commercial manager that are listed, neither of them work there anymore. And the person who does work there, I know, has recently left, and I believe the role is vacant. It's like, I know that one of the regions was played a friendly, and the team they were playing against asked, can we live stream the game on our YouTube channel for free? And the club said no, but didn't provide an alternative. So the game was just unstreamed in 2024. There was a game which fans couldn't watch. Like, my thing is, do you think it's not important? I know there's I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but I know there's a region where a TikToker who has 150,000 followers reached out to a region and said, I will make you content for free because I'm a fan of yours. I will come down with my phone and make a load of content for you. I've already made it for the Six Nations official account. I'll make it for you for free. Did not get a response from the region. Like, what?
Well, and that's the thing with this rugby championship stuff is like, and I'm not by any means the biggest rugby creator at all, but I've done, I talk about the competition, and I'm like, damn, you clearly don't care about social media enough. Like, I'm doing this for you for free, Yeah. And but outside of that, it's such an opportunity to grow. And we talk all the time in the Southern Hemisphere, particularly in Australia and New Zealand at the moment, about how we need to grow the game and how we also need to improve the fan experience. And social media is like the clearest opportunity to do that. And so, like you say, if you don't care, why don't you care? And why don't you see this as an opportunity? It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. But if you're looking for a little giggle, go and look at the Rugby Championship Instagram account because it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
To end it on a positive then, why is women's rugby social media so much better?
I think women's rugby have clued in pretty early onto the fact that we should be promoting kind of personality, athlete first, right? So it's less about the brand of the team and more about who are the people in our team, who are the people who you can identify with, attach yourself to, relate to, all of those sorts of things. So, and they also take charge of it themselves, right? Like you look at Caitlin Vahakolo here, she does her own social media stuff as well as alongside being, so she's known as more than just like, oh, that's Blackfern Caitlin Vahakolo. It's like, oh, you can go and watch KV on TikTok and she's, obsessed with Lilo and Stitch and she's doing these hauls and her sister's a singer and all this stuff. So I think just that's the opportunity, I guess, of being a new space and a growing kind of developing sport is there's so many opportunities to do things so differently. And it seems to be paying off because I think, they can see how much of a growth motivator social media is for them and they're really tapping into it.
Yeah. And I just think generally about women's rugby that more people are doing their jobs on merit rather than who they're mates with from back in the day. way.